from Prestige Motorsports. I run the car shop side of the business. So we build a lot of customs. So we have 10 to 12 cars going on at any given time. One of the things that we do when we take on a new project is we interview the client. It's critical that we listen. We want to know exactly what their expectations are, what it's going to do, why it's going to do it, when it's going to do it. All of those things are really important. Some people want the car really low. Some people want to make sure that it stops very well. So all of those things we need to take into consideration in the entire build. So here's a story about a little project that we did. It's a 1955 Chevy Bel Air convertible. Pretty nice car. Fella had it for about a year or so. Had a lot of deficiencies. It didn't stop very well at all. It didn't turn very well. It didn't have a lot of power. All kinds of issues. The transmission gear indicator didn't line up. Overheated when he stopped in traffic. So a whole list of things that were bothering them and really inhibiting his ability to take the car and have fun with it. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So after we listened to all of the things that were priorities and important to our client, we put together a program. First of all, we engineered everything that we needed to do based upon the input from the client. Then we needed to make sure that we used tested products and procedures. So very, very, very important as well. And then at the end of the day, when we're done with the project, we prove that everything works. So very, very important 3-step procedure that we use here. This 55 Chevy, it had, believe it or not, an early style LT1. So really a second generation LT1 and using the OptiSpark GM distributor. It's a optically fired distributor that mounts on the front of the engine. They're fairly problematic. It was running some factory electronics. They didn't really work very well with the car. They were not programmed properly. So it had all kinds of drivability issues, which is kind of disappointing. It was a small block Chevy with fuel injection. You'd think that it would perform well. Well, it didn't. So we listened to that. We also wanted to make sure that what kind of accessories did we want to do? What kind of creature comforts did we want to do? Air conditioning was an absolute priority. Power steering was an absolute priority. Disc brakes were an absolute priority. So based on that, we chose a retro-looking engine package. We used one of our 383s, but we did a port fuel injection. So it is a wonderful system that we work very, very closely with Holley. Use one of their Terminator X systems, so it's an individual port injector per cylinder, a multi-port. It's sequentially fired, so you have great efficiency, you have great overall performance. It's absolutely a joy to drive. So to make it very drivable both at low speed and high speed, we added a 4L60E. So electronically shifted transmission with an overdrive. So two good things you get about that transmission choice. One, it's got a lower first gear. So traffic light to traffic light performance is incredible. Fourth gear is terrific on the highway. So you can run a little steeper rear end gear and get the benefits of all of the above. Good around town performance, great highway manners as well. So we went ahead and took care of that. 4-wheel disc brake upgrade, certainly power brake booster. We went with a dual diaphragm master cylinder, an 8-inch, so that it would take not a ton of pedal effort. You had a lot of feel to the pedal, and then it stopped straight as a dime. A couple other things that we wanted to do is change it over to power steering. So we went to the 605 power steering gearbox. So that's a pretty easy retrofit and pretty commonplace. The engine that had been installed, the LT1, has a typical bolt pattern like a old style small block Chevy, very different from the current LS or the current LT engines. So we were able to theoretically utilize the engine mounts. Well, what we found is that it was misaligned. So the engine wasn't sitting in the chassis properly. So we ended up cutting away all of that previous work and starting again. And this is something that you see quite often in a car of that age. because it could have gone through different owners, and everybody does something different with it. And a lot of times, from an engineering perspective, they kind of miss the deal. So we have to take that into consideration as well. So headers weren't really a problem there. This was a fairly straightforward conversion. We went ahead and took care of that. We mounted the radiator in the 6-cylinder position, which is on front of the core support, so you can always tell what radiator or core support it has. The V8 used the radiator on the inside, the 6-cylinder was on the forward side. The advantage of running it on the forward side is that you can run a little bit bigger radiator, number one, and you get yourself a lot of extra clearance between the engine and the front of the radiator, which allows us to run very robust engine cooling fans. The fact that we use a central ECU for all of our ignition components, so timing is controlled by our ECU, fuel injection is controlled by our ECU, cooling fan operation is controlled by the same, as is transmission operation. So we have a single ECU that controls everything. It's terrific. It works really well, very easy to program, very easy to understand. We can remote tune using the Holley Terminator system, so it's something that we use a lot. We have a lot of confidence in it, and most of that is based upon our customer feedback, so that's something that is important to us as well. We also upgraded the instrumentation in the vehicle, and again added air conditioning. We even had a convertible top installed on it by our local upholstery shop. So we did all of the things that were important to our client. Once it was done, we always put at least 100 miles on our projects. So it passed all of our tests. We had never met the client face to face. He lived in a couple of states away. The car was shipped to us, but again, he had confidence in our ability. He had confidence because he had heard about our attention to detail, and that's very important for all of us. But we delivered the car back, and he was extremely happy. It had a snap missing on a top boot. That was the only issue that we had whatsoever. So we were disappointed that we actually missed anything because those things are really, really important to us as well. But anyway, a good tale about a neat car, a neat project, a neat client, and we're on to the next one.